It's Divorce TV time, and we have an expert interview with Jo O'Sullivan, who is a very experienced lawyer, but she's doing the kind of lawyering that many of you will never have heard of, collaborative law, and a form of mediation, hybrid mediation, that I'm really keen to talk to her about. We have another shared story with Kimberly Ewertz and a healing with Jen Edwards, so another special experience to end the show with. Let's find out what's going on in the news. The Law Society Gazette is talking about how the court dismisses 28 separate divorce petitions with identical wording. A family court judge has dismissed 28 divorce petitions from the same company after a finding that particulars of behaviour were absolutely identical to each other. So obviously these divorcing people have gone to this company, they've gone for unreasonable behaviour, and apparently their spouses all behaved exactly the same. So Mr. Justice Moore declined to refer those responsible to the Director of Public Prosecutions, but warned he would have no hesitation in doing so if there was any repeat. He also insisted that the judgment should be placed on the Bailey website to ensure that nobody else decides to do exactly the same as happened in this case. The 28 petitions were listed in open court after they were all referred by Deputy District Judge McCarty, the judge in day-to-day charge of the divorce unit at Bury St Edmunds. Moore J said it was quite impossible for each of the 28 respondents to have behaved in exactly the same way, but their particulars of behaviour were described identically over some 145 words in each petition. As a result, he concluded that the petitions were improper. All 28 petitions were drafted by and filed by a company referred to as iDivorces, an unregulated provider added as an interested party. Its director, named as Mr. Eastham, accepted that the company used standard wording on each petition and sent it to each client asking them if there was anything in there that was wrong. The judge said it was tolerably clear that none of the petitioners made any amendment, and he made clear this was not the correct way to proceed. Moore J added, "It follows that I have no alternative but to dismiss all 28 of these divorce petitions. The petitioners will simply have to start again. I hope it will be possible for them to proceed relatively quickly." He had considered a reference to the DPP on the basis that it was potentially a crime of perverting the course of justice. It was noted that Eastham apologised in court, said it was a misunderstanding, and confirmed this will never happen again. The judge concluded there would be insufficient public benefit in referring these cases, as it would be disproportionate to do so. Indeed it would, especially as hopefully we won't have to do this from next April. According to Companies House, Matthew James Eastham was a director of Truro Company iDivorces Limited, but resigned in March 2017. There is a company trading as iDivorces based in Truro, which is owned by Action Credit Management Limited. Companies House lists the nature of its businesses: distilling, rectifying and blending of spirits, and retail sale in non-specialised stores. This company has just one director listed as Wesley Michael Gorrell. So yeah, be careful where you get your advice from when it comes to divorcing. Basically, you can pretty much do it yourself. So I don't quite know what they were paying him for, if it's really as simple as just filling out. Yeah. When you get to things like, you have still got till April, so unless you're going to wait, it is so important to get the wording right, because it's really tedious for those poor people to have to redo it all. But they perhaps should have read it through and made a few changes. The Birmingham Mail is talking about Rylan Clark Neal, who tells the BBC to change his name amid divorce from husband Dan. BBC Strictly Come Dancing presenter Ryan Clark Neal has told the BBC to call him just Rylan. The reports have emerged as the Essex presenter endures a tough personal period. Rylan is going through a marriage split with husband Dan. The pair have hosted ITV This Morning together, but are now going through a split. He thought it was best to have a fresh start, and the easiest way to do that was to go back to just one name, a source told the Sun newspaper this week. He didn't want to make a big fuss, just to change it on screen. Ryland, the supermarket sweep presenter who also hosts It Takes Two, has returned to TV and radio after taking time away from the studios. Opening up to The Sun, Ryland said, "Following reports about Dan and I spending time apart, I feel I have to speak out as the way it's being reported is unfair. I have made a number of mistakes which I deeply regret and have inevitably led to the breakdown of our marriage." Viewers have been delighted over the past few weeks to see Ryland resume some of his usual presenting roles. I don't know how it is in the States, so please comment if you can share, but in the UK it's very, very easy to change your name. You don't have to wait till you divorce. You can just do it by deed poll. It's not even very expensive to do it. Right, last story of the night is woman burns her wedding dress in wild post-divorce photo shoot. This is in the New York Post. The article says, "Burn baby burn. A woman took matters into her own hands and set her wedding dress on fire in a divorce-themed photo shoot after the split with her ex-husband." Chrissy Blake, a nutritionist from Massachusetts, poured alcohol on her $1,400 gown and set it ablaze to celebrate her divorce. What do you think about that? I'll tell you what I think in a minute, but do feel free to express yourself in the comments. The 41-year-old claimed her ex-husband cheated on her 6 times throughout their relationship and 3-year marriage, including once before they even walked down the aisle. Blake hired a photographer to snap photos as she swam through a lake, plus stomped on it and then torched her wedding dress. She decided to go through with the shoot after she saw other women online doing the same. Be very careful what you copy from social media. This is the horrifying bit, she took her children, Dominique 23 and Braden 6, along with her to the shoot site where they dragged the dress through the mud and soaked it in wine before burning it. "I saw a divorce photo shoot and I just couldn't believe it. I had to do it," she told Kennedy News Service. "I thought it would give me closure and be a big F you. It looks so much fun." That's such a great way to talk about your marriage and your children involved. I'm sorry, I'm really gobsmacked by this whole story. What else was I going to do with a wedding dress? Well, give it to a charity shop. That would be a start. Or just give it to someone who's getting married. I mean, I'm sure they would have been very happy to have it off you. I don't believe in selling them once they've been worn. My daughter wasn't going to want it. Well, she certainly isn't now, is she? Says Blake. It was so satisfying. We absolutely destroyed that thing. We ripped it, got it in the water and burnt it. Blake said that she discovered her ex had flings with other women that ultimately led to them going to couples therapy before their September 2020 breakup. When she found out about a 6th woman, she'd had enough and decided to leave. Fair enough. Doing something like this brings closure. Does it? And is a release, but it doesn't mean you're being vindictive or vicious, she said. Well, tell that to the 6-year-old. It brings closure to the pain and freedom. I don't want it in my closet looking at me when I open it, reminding me of a mistake. Well, that's that. That bit's understandable. That mistake, it seems, came up fairly early in their dating history, says the article. I received some messages from an ex about 5 months into the relationship. I didn't believe it and I didn't think he was that person. I just didn't believe anything that anybody was saying, Blake explained to Kennedy News Service. Unfortunately, things apparently heated up from there, and 1 year into their marriage, they went to counselling, but she said it didn't take. I would go on his phone and see him talking to other women, saying they were sleeping together, but I wouldn't contact the women because they didn't know about me because he'd lied to them, Blake shared. I just felt devastated. I married this man and started a family with him, Blake said. I'm not one to hold grudges. It was hard, but it was a blessing. It's a very strange way to express it as a blessing. The bit that makes me cross about this, and feel free to disagree in the comments, is this is the newspaper, which is quite often what the newspapers do, preying on a woman who's in a vulnerable emotional state. I very much doubt she got much closure from this, and no regard at all for the effects, dragging her children into it, especially the 6-year-old. I think it's very, very sad. And I wonder how many of these journalists and newspaper editors will go on to have divorces of their own. And it would be nice if some of them would have some kind of sense of responsibility when they're doing these stories. I hope they paid her. That's all I can say. And I'm now welcoming Jo O'Sullivan, who is a very, very experienced, you're not your ordinary lawyer, are you, Jo?
I do anything but court, Susie. You know me, anything but court.
That's it. And it's very rare to find a lawyer who doesn't do court. And so I've always quoted you, Jo, as one of those brave souls who've just taken that plunge. And it's not what I'm really glad about you being on here is we're going to talk about two things that you do that 99% of the people I talk to have no knowledge about. They don't even know it's there as an option. One is collaborative law. And the other one we had a great chat about the other day, which is hybrid mediation. But I wanted to start with collaborative because I think it's kept in the cupboard by the family law industry. It's something that unfortunately people often find out about far too late. So one of them's already got a relationship with a solicitor who isn't collaboratively changed. So it becomes quite complicated sometimes to swap over. But could you perhaps just give us a little example of maybe a recent or not so recent, obviously, because you want to be confidential, and it is very confidential. Obviously, that's another thing to bring up. So if you've got dirty linen and you don't want it in public, collaborative law, like mediation, is a fabulous option. Just tell us a little bit about what it actually is.
Okay, well, I mean, put simply, it's the two lawyers working together, obliged to work together to help everybody, particularly the children, and to sort it out. I mean, really, that's it. It's contractually obliged to help not just my own client, but the other client. So if I notice that my colleague has forgotten something for their own client, I will mention it. If we're doing the drafting and they made a mistake that prejudices their client, I will say, hey, you don't want to say that. You want to say this. So it makes this a much less stressful experience for everybody, the lawyers included, because I know that the other lawyer's got my back, I've got theirs, and that we're both really committed to first of all the children, and then we sort out what's best for the whole family. But most likely the couple themselves have got pretty good ideas. So quite often our only problem is how to draft the legal documents to reflect these creative settlements that people come up with, and that no judge would ever think of, and frankly, neither would we, because we don't know. Every single case is different, and we don't know what's important to this particular couple or the individuals within it.
And that's really important, isn't it? That's a really nice point to bring up, is that it's so empowering for the couple that they design their own divorce settlement with the legal support, lawyers sitting by their sides. Often when I explain about collaborative law as an option to people, and I say, you're sitting there with your lawyer's there, their lawyer's there, and you talk to each other over the table. Isn't that amazing? And they're like, wow. And there's no Friday night nasty letter to give you a stressful weekend. There's no game playing, and it's completely different. The training is very different, isn't it, from conventional law? I know you have to be a conventional lawyer first. What were the things that you found the most different? It's not like you just put a different hat on. It's a kind of different head almost, isn't it, to go into collaborative law?
It really is. I mean, unfortunately, it used to be that you'd have to be 3 years qualified as a solicitor or lawyer to train to be a collaborative practitioner, but that's now changed. So as soon as you qualify now, you can do collaborative, which is really good because lots of those bad habits are picked up in those first few years, where you learn how to write letters, how to put your client's case, how to be positional, how to try to win, which of course no one does. Well, unless someone's being unreasonable. But to go back to your question, I trained in 2006, and the first day I thought, oh no, wow, I'm just going to get sued by my client. Oh my goodness, how can I possibly do it like this? I'm just going to be in trouble all the time. And then day two, I thought, oh my God, I can't do it any other way. Why are we doing it another way? This is complete. I had this light bulb moment where I thought, oh my goodness, everything I'm doing is damaging these families. Everything that I do is like a sledgehammer to this family forever. It took me a little while it took me another 4 years to set up my own practice to be able to just do it all the time. But thank God,
What's your message? Because I've spoken to family lawyers and who've said, "Oh, it doesn't really work collaborative, or you can't make enough money," I know from others that's just not true. But from a business perspective, what would you say to, especially those newly trained lawyers? So what a wonderful thing to go into, rather than becoming traumatized by the family law system, to be able to get as quickly as possible into doing something in a healthier way. I think that's fabulous news that they can do that now. What would you say to those who dismiss it as not something that law firms should really be bothering with?
Yes, good point. I mean, I would say it's much better for our well-being. There's lots of talk about well-being in the profession now. There hadn't been hitherto, and I think actually when you're working with a lawyer, another lawyer, rather than against them, or rather against the other person, this is a sort of team effort, and it's much better for me. I'm a much happier person because I don't like this. Therefore, my clients are happy. They're not happy because they're going through this terrible time. Don't get me wrong; they're not delighted by it. Am I making as much money? Yes. But I can see, if I was a law firm, when I'm trying to generate loads and loads of money to pay all my huge overheads. Just imagine the rent on a London property, a London plush office, and then all the profits you've got to give to those partners above. There's lots of pressure to bring in a lot of money, and litigation, going to court does that. It's much more. It is more lucrative. You make more money doing it, which means clients are paying an awful lot more for something they don't have to.
But for a lot of people, the kind of people I talk to regularly, and I'm sure you do too, £50,000 plus by going to court, they can't really afford it. It comes out of the children, what the children need and the assets. It's a catastrophe. But one of the things I've found that collaborative law, I always recommend it, but it's something, if you can get in there early, then that's fabulous. But the problem that I come up again time and time, the challenge is that particularly with people who've got a very difficult spouse, where it's difficult to do the mediation. Not impossible, but it has added layers of complication, shall we say. And the particularly if it's a narcissistic spouse, they've already got their lawyer, they're locked into that person. And we talked the other day, and you have an answer to that problem, don't you? And it's called hybrid mediation.
Hybrid mediation. I wouldn't count collaborative out with the difficult people.
No. Oh, no. I would say absolutely, but it's the timing.
You can't get them there sometimes
because the other spouse may not want to let go of their solicitor who they've already engaged with. So it's about getting how early you can get in, really, to get the collaborative.
That's
but
true.
if you
Answer two.
Yeah.
Sorry to shut up, Joe. I've been interrupting you. Just to rewind. I do say to spouses, you know what, you could talk to your spouse to get another lawyer who does collaborative, who really wants to do it, and here's the list of people that are really good. There's no impossible, even when they've got their lawyer. But to answer your question, the difficult case, the narcissist, the case that really is going to court, you could try hybrid mediation. We weren't sure, what to call it. Sometimes people call it supported mediation, because it means that your lawyers can be there all the time, some of the time on the phone, and they're welcomed into the process. It's particularly helpful where perhaps you've got the lawyer but your spouse doesn't, and they're not engaging very well with anything. They are sending loads of emails, costing you loads of money, because of course every time they email your lawyer, you get charged for it. This way you've got them in the room with me, the mediator, looking after them in a neutral way but helpful, giving lots of information, and your lawyer would be there to help you, and I'm kind of going between everybody, creating a conversation, making a settlement happen. To explain, it is a little bit different to family law model, family law mediation model, and that's because it has been criticised for not being as successful as it might be, and that's possibly because in family mediation, the mediator is not allowed to keep secrets, is not allowed to hold any information to themselves, whereas in this hybrid model, where the civil and the family model merge, we can. So that means that really puts me in a good position to help negotiations, because I know something the others don't know. But without giving it away, I can kind of nudge things in the direction to bring about a settlement.
And maybe it,
Works
and
really
for
well.
example, could it be that one of the people divorcing, one of the parties, has told you, I've met someone else, but I just don't want to cause trouble by bringing that up. But that's why I'm really keen to, it might explain some of the things that were reasons they want a settlement a certain way, but they don't want to say
Ooh.
the why yet. So there could be situations like that, which is that an example of the kind of thing that might happen, that with a conventional mediator they would be going, but please don't tell me because I'm not
Yes,
allowed to have a secret.
I think I might do in this model as well. That's a really interesting question. That throws in a sort of ethical grenade into our Friday evening discussion. What would I do? That's never happened, actually. I suppose it would have to come out because one of the questions you get asked in the documentation at the end is, do you have a present intention to cohabit or remarry? So they would have to say at some point that they were doing that. And actually, if it may not make a difference to the settlement. I don't know. It depends on circumstances. Sometimes it does. And they hadn't said this, then really the whole thing could be set aside. So I would be saying things like that. I would be saying that that's why it's important that you do share that. And hey, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. And reassuring them, but also you're helping get that piece of information across in a way that is less likely to land like a bombshell on the other person.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
But it's often a bombshell anyway because they weren't expecting it.
So who else is doing this hybrid mediation? Because you're the first person I've met who's actively doing it that I'm aware of. So that's why I'm so excited about it.
It really took off in lockdown. I'm not really sure why. I trained before lockdown. I'm not really. I'm not sure how many are now trained, but I would have thought coming up to 100, maybe more.
Oh, good.
So it's not. There's quite a few of us in Brighton, and all over the country. So look out for it if you're looking on lawyers' websites, because I do think it's a really helpful way forward, particularly if there's a particularly difficult character, if there is mental illness, possibly. If there's any kind of difficulty you can think of where actually mediation on your own without the support of your lawyer might not be relevant, might not be helpful. And also if you yourself, if you're going into mediation and actually I'm not sure I want to make that decision because my lawyer's not here. I really want my lawyer here to ask about that, contemporaneously. Right now I want to know the answer. And in this model, it's perfectly possible to do that. It's great.
It's kind of a merging of collaborative with, in a sense that you're getting the lawyers all together to sort things out and encouraging them to cut a deal, which is really their job, is to help that couple cut a deal. But quite often those solicitors don't have the training or the skill to actually do that. They have a process that actually can slow that up enormously, but they've got you there to make that happen. So my last question is, how are the lawyers finding that experience, the ones who've engaged in that?
They really like it. I'll tell you why, because it's a safe place for them, because it's all without prejudice, meaning it's confidential. We can have separate meetings so they can really let me know what's going on, and I can really look after them as well in this process. And this sounds a bit, they're not in charge. I'm in charge. Ooh, surprise, surprise. And they quite like that because it's a relief, actually, because they can come in, the three of us if there's two of them, have a perfectly reasonable conversation. How are we going to help this couple out? How are we going to get where we need to go? I will say things like, yeah, that's not very helpful. It's positional. And yeah, I know you want the best for your client, but you're not going to get that, are you? I can be quite, I can be quite straightforward. I'm quite a straightforward person. Probably going against some of my training, but never mind, don't tell anybody, I'm on television. And ultimately, it's really helpful because we narrow the issues, and settlement comes out of it.
And some mediators and mediators don't have to have been a lawyer to be a good mediator, but it sounds like to hold that space in hybrid mediation, it's probably a beneficial to have some very clear legal knowledge, because so you can call the bluff basically of the lawyers in the room.
I think that's a really good point, Susie. I mean, mediation's always been possible to have your lawyers in the room with you or the Zoom room. But over time, that stopped happening, perhaps on the grounds of expense, because obviously it's expensive to have them there, but also perhaps lots of mediators aren't lawyers and perhaps we're a bit worried or freaked out about having a lawyer there. Whereas I'm not. I'm delighted when they're there. I'm delighted to have them. They're very welcome because they always help. They're helpful because I tell them to be helpful, but they're helpful because they sometimes the clients forget what they wanted to say, whereas their lawyers won't.
Brilliant. That sounds ideal. I'm really excited to know more. And so you're going to put some information when I send you the links to where it all goes out. You'll pop links in so people can find out more. And I do hope more solicitors also look into this, not just people who are getting divorced. Thank you so much for coming to talk, and I hope you come back another time.
Thank you, Susie. Brilliant work. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So hybrid mediation, have a think. Even if you've got a strong relationship with your lawyer, or your spouse has, you may not be able to move into the collaborative process, but this would be potentially a fantastic alternative. Obviously, it's going to cost a bit more than just going to a mediator. That's always going to be the least expensive and often quickest way, but it depends on the situation you're in and who you're divorcing. We're almost at the end of the Children's Bill of Rights, and this is a lovely one. This is number 9. This, of course, these were created by Robert Emery, PhD, who wrote this as Professor of Psychology at the University of Virginia. So number 9 is the right to have a life that is as close as possible to what it would have been if your parents stayed together. Now, what could that mean? For example, I interpret that as sports clubs, parties, those kind of things that your child would do that might get in the way of spending time with mummy or daddy, because suddenly the child becomes the property of those parents as part of what might have been quite a contentious battle to even get that time with that child. So this could trigger some of you watching, and please do feel free to comment, especially if it does, or if you think fair enough, this is a good right for children to have. And the example that came to mind when I read this was when I first became single with my 3 small children. An amazing kindergarten teacher, she looked at me and said, this whole co-parenting thing, because we were trying really hard to make it work. She said, I've seen it work once. I was like, oh my God, how did they do it? And she said, for example, the dad who lived miles and miles away, he had to drive for hours, and he drove down to see one of the children, picked them up, drove them to a children's party, sat in the car, drove them back home, and then drove all the way back home again. Because that was in his parenting style, and that's what the child was doing at that point. And I remember going, oh my goodness, that seemed quite extreme. But when you think about it, if you're together as a couple, that would be the most normal thing in the world. You take the child to the party, you take them home. You wouldn't go, no, this is my time with you. And so it might seem a bit extreme, but I think it's a good way to think about it and just ask yourself when you're setting up time with the children, is it about your time with them, or is it about just being there for them as if you were a normal parent and allowing the children to not give up on things just so they can spend time with one parent or another? And I know that can be challenging and that's not always going to work, but do think about the children's right to have a life that is as close as possible to what it would have been if their parents stayed together. Put it on the fridge. And now we're going to have our shared story, and we've got Kimberly back with another chapter from her lovely book. And welcome, Kimberly, back to the show. You're a regular. Well, we're going to finish your book soon. We'll have to get you to come back and come all the way around again. So what's the chapter today? And just remind anyone who hasn't met you before, what is this book and why did you write it?
Oh, the title of the book is Family Redefined, Childhood Reflections on the Impact of Divorce, where I interviewed 9 adult children of divorce and let them tell their stories so that parents going through this journey right now, which is extremely difficult, can get the perspective of the child instead of just how they're seeing the divorce. They can see what the impact is for their children. And it is far greater than we ever expected it to be. I myself am a divorced parent, so I was naive going in, and that first year of after the divorce was traumatizing for my son. So I wanted to put something out there as a resource to help other divorcing parents to understand what their children are going through and hopefully help them through it better.
And what's the chapter that you're going to talk about today, the story you're going to share?
Well, the last time we spoke, and it was the chapter Katniss, and she was the older sister of her and her brother, and they came from not only a divorced household, but their parents were abusive, and they suffered abandonment issues. So this is Chris, her younger brother, and today he's in his 40s. He's successful entrepreneur, a very proud father, and very happily married. It is his third marriage, but he is very happy now because he discovered through those first two marriages that because of the example that his parents provided both to him and his sister, that he had no real idea of what love was or how to make a relationship work. So he is grateful he learned how to make that happen. And unfortunately, the abandonment issues that he suffered from as a young child caused him to be overly sensitive in regards to other people, to the point where he would completely dismiss his own needs. So he dealt with that for quite a long time.
Could you give an example of that?
He gave me an example, and it's in the chapter where he said he was so concerned about everything and everybody else that even when it came to picking out clothes to go to school, he would make sure he gave each one of his shirts this same amount of wear, that he didn't want to show a favoritism for his clothing because he was that sensitive to what he felt they would get their feelings would be hurt.
Do
And
you
there's
think that?
actually a
Yeah. So I was going to say, do you think that does that? I'm aware. I think, as most of us are, that children will often they are hypersensitive anyway. They don't want to upset their parents, so they won't tell them when they can't share their own problems because they can see their parents are suffering and they want to protect them. Was it an example of that, or was something else at play here?
It was mostly that. In fact, in the chapter, I quote a study that was made by the Australian Institute of Family Studies, where they discovered that children feel very considerable responsibility for the well-being of their loved ones. So parents have to always realize that what they're going through is being projected to their children, to the point where some of them, not all of them are as sensitive as Chris was, but some of them are, and they'll take on that responsibility and feel like it's up to them to make sure everything is as even as it can be, as kind of play the peacemaker. And he was only 6 when his parents divorced, so he took on this role, and he wasn't prepared for it, and it really affected him throughout his childhood, and
Must have been very
he's
difficult
learned
to
from
have.
it.
It must be very difficult to have boundaries in relationships or anything like that if you're always trying to please.
Exactly.
What's from what you've learned from this, either personally but also through the stories that you've in the books? If any parents are thinking, "Oh God, I think that might be my child," what would you say to them?
Oh, find support for them. That is the key. Chris was only allowed 3 months of counseling, but he said to this day he still remembers that man's name because he had such an impact in his life, because it was gave him a chance to voice what he felt and what he needed. So your children are just in desperate need of support from every direction you can provide them. First and foremost, it should come from you. Even if you can't give your best self to them, you have to still make sure they know you're present and then find, professionals in the field that can help them as well. So if you provide them all of that help, it'll just make their journey through this difficult time the easier.
Would you agree that it's not a good idea for the parents to expect the children to tell them how they're feeling? I mean, it's hard to accept, but you're in a position where, as a parent, you cannot expect that of the children. They do need to get them outside help of some kind.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, you as a parent should understand through your child's actions, are they withdrawn or are they acting out? It's not going to come verbally. They're not going to sit down and say, "Mother and Father, this is how I'm feeling." No, you're going to have to pick up on that. Your intuition as a parent will lead you to understand that your child is not that person that they were before all of this began. And when you see those signs, and you also inform the schools, it's good to let the teachers know what's going on, because then they can be also giving you the information of how they're behaving in school. And if it's a complete turnaround in whatever way, they're withdrawing or they're acting out, or either one of those are signs that the child is in distress. So you want to give them, it's just like taking them to the doctor if they're hurt or sick. This is the same kind of help you want to provide them during this time, because they are hurting and they are feeling bad. So get them that help.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Kimberly, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay. Bye. Take care, Susie. Thank you so much.
Bye. We're going to have a quick, what I call the tile lucky dip. If you go to bestwaytodivorce.online, US, UK, anywhere, it's only in English at the moment, I'm afraid, but hopefully that covers most of your needs. And it's a free app, Best Way to Divorce app. Nothing quite like it that I can see online anywhere, available on any phone. But the one I wanted to pick on today was two, actually. One's the divorce workshops. So we had a lovely workshop. You wouldn't have thought it would be lovely being a divorce workshop, but actually it was great. And we ran that at the end of September, divorcing a difficult spouse. And now we're doing our divorce financial workshop, which is doesn't have to be a difficult spouse. It's actually particularly good if you're early stages and you want to find out all the different options. And the ticket includes complimentary sessions with recommended experts, and basically it will save you thousands of pounds and take a lot of stress out and help you understand what's going on. So that's just for the UK. I'm still working on the US one, the California one, but I will get there. But there's only one of me. And then three critical divorce facts is one of the tiles as well in there. You can access. This is bashing things ever. This one of the is free, and essentially it's three things that I find that most people, even if they've been to a lawyer, they just don't know. They don't know about. And if they were stuck in a lift with me for a few minutes, that it's what I would tell them. So go and have a look at that, especially if you're early stages or at any stage and you're just thinking, what on earth is going on? How can I speed this up and stop it going all to pieces? And now we're ready for our healing, and we are going to have something lovely and special from Jen. So Jen, you're an intuitive energy healer, so give people a little flavour of what's coming for the next 10 minutes. Oh, I don't seem to have you. Sorry, that's my fault. I think I turned you off instead of on. There we go. It's not you. You don't touch anything. It's totally my fault. So start, take two.
Okay, take two. Thanks very much. It's lovely to be here, and thanks for that lovely introduction. So yes, I'm an intuitive energy healer, and I'm going to work with you tonight with using the body code and the emotion code, which are my healing things. That's what I do. And essentially what we do with the body code and the emotion code is we identify old, outdated emotional baggage that you're carrying. In other words, feelings that you were unable to process at the time you experienced them. And we release them from you. We release them from your tissues and your organs and your being. And so doing, we allow the body to heal. We allow the body space to heal. And we allow the emotions and the mental being to heal as well. That's
And
what
so
I'm going to do.
I mean, obviously it sounds like it'd be lovely for everybody, but who in particular would this be kind of essential for, really?
Well, look, I work with all sorts of people, with all sorts of issues, fibromyalgia, all sorts, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, whatever. But what I wanted to focus on tonight was I thought I would work on helping release from as many as possible in the time that I have. Anyone in this group release old emotional baggage that no longer serves you, relevant to relationships, old relationships that just don't serve you anymore. So whatever's in those, when you think about those relationships that don't serve you, what I'm hoping to do is pull out some of the stuff that you just don't need to carry anymore.
Because they do tend to kind of hang around, don't they? And they don't just disappear. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you take the floor now.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I'm just making a note of the time. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just say a statement to you, and I'd like you to say it after me, either in your head or out aloud. So I'm going to say it in fragments. Please follow with me. I now receive the energy healing sent to me by Jen. I use my intention and this healing to release, clear, and heal anything that is blocking me from experiencing myself as the divine, powerful, and lovable human being that I am. Right, so I'm going to place a shield of bright white shining light around you. I place this shield around you with love and the very best intentions. It allows positive energies freely in and out. It blocks all negative and offensive energies. Do you have a shield of bright white shining light around you? Yes, you do. Are you blocking all negative and offensive energies? Yes. Are you allowing positive energies freely in and out? Okay, I have a connection with you. Yes. I have created a healing circle and I have a connection with this healing circle. Yes. My yes is my swaying back and forward as I'm swaying now. So I have a connection with you in my healing circle. Yes. All right. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, is there something I can release from you that will serve your highest good tonight? Yes, which is relevant to old, outdated, emotional relationship baggage that you no longer need, and I'm getting a yes on that. The first thing I'm going to release from you is a trapped emotion of effort unreceived. So how we're going to do is I'm going to put my hand in front of me like this with two fingers up, my left hand or my right hand, it doesn't matter. And with the other hand, I'm going to swipe on my fingers across the back of my hand, from the tips of my fingers across the back of my hand to my wrist. And as I do this, I'm releasing from you effort unreceived. If you want to do this with me, please do. Feel empowered to do it with me if you would like to. If you don't want to, it absolutely doesn't matter. Okay, have we released effort unreceived? Yes, we have. Have we balanced your being? Yes. There's another trapped emotion that you trapped at a time when you were unable to process it because you were just overwhelmed and there was just too much stuff going on. This emotion is heartache. Do you have a trapped emotion of heartache? Yes, you do. Is it lodged in all of your organs? Yes, it's lodged in all of your organs. The reason for this is because we're working with a group and it's difficult for me to identify individually where this heartache is trapped, but it's coming through as all of your organs. All right, is there more than one of these heartaches we can release? Yes, I'm getting a yes. Do I need to know more about this? No, I'm getting a no. I sway from left to right when that's a no. Can I release heartache from you? Yes, I can. Is there more than one I can release? Yes. Okay, let's release heartache now by swiping on the back of our hands. Don't worry, you can't do it wrong. Whatever you're doing is perfect for your experience. Remember that I'm managing this process and I'm doing it for you as well as you doing it with me. Have we released heartache. Yes, we have. Okay. There's another trapped emotion you want to release now. It is insecurity. Yes. Is there more than one insecurity? Yes. Can I release more than one? Yes. Do I need to know the numbers? No. Do I need to know the details? No. Can we release insecurity from you now? Yes. Love in the best intentions. Release insecurity. Release as many as you will allow us to release. Have we released insecurity? Yes. Have we balanced your being? Yes. Okay, there's something interesting coming up now. I think this is possibly a morphic field. Have you got a morphic field that you want released? Yes. Lack of trust, being betrayed. Okay, there's a morphic field of being betrayed. Now, a morphic field is like an energy field that we create in our sort of group consciousness, and it's a way of being. So what's happened with us in the group tonight is we have a morphic field of being betrayed. Yes, I'm getting a yes on that. Causing you to be betrayed by others. So this is an energy field. We're going to release you from this energy field. Can we do that now? Do we need to know more about this? No, we don't. Can we do it now? Yes, we can. So with love and the very best intentions, we release you from this morphic field of being betrayed. We release you from this completely with love and the very best intentions from all levels, layers, types, ages, and places in your being. We release being betrayed. I'm going to ask you now, may I connect you to a positive morphic field? Yes. So let's connect you to a positive morphic field. We're going to connect you to the morphic field of discovering the true nature of people. With love and the best intentions, I build this connection for you now. I connect you to discovering the true nature of people. Do you have a connection to the morphic field of discovering the true nature of people? Yes, you do. Do I need to do more on this? No. There's another trapped emotion we can release right now. It is anxiety. Do I need to know more about this? No. Do I need to know any further details? No. This is a trapped emotion. Yes. Living in your tissues and your organs? Yes. Can I release anxiety? Yes. Can I release as many as possible? Yes. With love and the best intentions, we release anxiety from you. As we do, we bring balance to all parts of your being. Have we released anxiety? Yes. Have we balanced your being? Yes. There's another trapped emotion, it's love unreceived. Do you have a trapped emotion of love unreceived? Yes, you do. Is there more than one of these that I'm able to release? Yes. Do I need to know the numbers? No. Do I need to know the ages? No. With love and the best intentions, release from you love unreceived. As we do, we bring balance to all parts of your being that have been affected by this. We release love unreceived now. Have we released love unreceived? Yes, we have. Have we balanced your being? Yes, we have. Okay, there's another one that we can release from you. It is crying. It's a trapped emotion of crying. Can I release crying from you now? Yes. Is there more than one I can release? Yes. Do I need to know the numbers? No. Do I need to know anything further? No. We release now with love and the best intentions. Crying, we release it from all levels, all layers, all ages, all times, all places. We release crying now with love and the very best intentions. You may find yourself yawning or burping. You may feel sensations of getting stuck in your throat as we release these toxic energies. If you do, it's quite normal, and just please allow yourself to release these, and you don't have to do anything, just be in the moment, and just let them go. Okay, so the one more. Okay, anxiety, trapped emotion of anxiety, more than one. Yes. Need to know the numbers? No. Need to know anything else about this? No. Love and the best intentions, release anxiety from you. As we do, we bring balance to all parts of your being. Release anxiety now. Okay, I'm now going to check, are you 100% committed to releasing the energies we identified? Yes, you are. I'm now going to balance and reset and open and align your chakras by striping over your main meridian with a magnet over the middle of my head as your proxy, as your representative. I balance, align, open your chakras and your meridians for easy energy flow. I set the intention with love that you process and release easily, safely, softly, joyously. How long is this going to take you to process? It's going to take you 2 days, 3 days, no, 2 days. It's going to take you 2 days to process this. Please be aware that you may bump into these emotions. You may bump into memories and echoes of these emotions in the 2 days that follow. If you do, it's completely and absolutely normal. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve you. I wish you well on your journey.
And if you're wondering how that can work from afar, just remind yourself that we are all one. And on that basis, it makes absolute sense. I feel lovely now. So, in the war of divorce, on the battlefield of family separation, make peace your weapon of choice.